Hello and welcome to your online geology course. So this is GLG110IN. It is called Geologic Disasters and the Environment, and it includes both a lecture and a lab. My name is Todd Luther, and I will be your instructor for this course. And so the idea of this video is just to give you a brief overview of the course, maybe a little overview of Canvas, and also just to show you what is expected of you and how you earn your grade in this course. So what you're looking at here is the main page for the course, and we'll just go through some of these little links here. So if you're new to Canvas, this is the learning management system that we use. Off to the far left here, some navigation tools. Those are for navigating throughout Canvas because you have other courses potentially that have Canvas modules or courses created for them. So if you go to your dashboard, it'll show all the courses that you're enrolled in that have a Canvas course. You have a calendar, an inbox, and that's how you'll navigate throughout Canvas itself. But for this course in particular, you'll use these navigation tools here. And so we're going to spend, and you will, most of your time at this modules, which I'll show you in just a second. But as you have read, hopefully through this first little paragraph, I'd like you to go through the syllabus so that you know what to expect, and the nitty-gritty details are included in there. So we'll go through that really quick because you'll need to acknowledge the syllabus here online. So there's a little quiz that basically says, yes, I've read the syllabus and I understand it, before you can access the content and start the class. So if you'll look at, let's see, what else we're going to do. The syllabus. You're going to acknowledge it. There is another thing I need you to do. For this course, I want you to use a program called Google Earth Pro. Now, you probably use Google Earth or use Google Maps at least. It's similar, and there's a variety of versions out there. But the one I want you to use when you click this link is this one in particular, which is the Pro desktop. It's free, and basically it's a better version of these others, which are, there's a web version, there's a mobile version. We want this one. And so these won't work for what I'm going to ask you to do. They will work for some of the content and activities, but this one is the most powerful, has the ability to import data and measure things and all that kind of stuff. So this is the one I want you to install and use for the course. So that's another thing that I'd like you to do in the, for the first week, because we're going to use it in lab. Okay, enough of that. Real quick, let's look at the syllabus. So information about how to contact me, where I am, and all that kind of good stuff. I'm going to argue that the best way to get in touch with me is to use the inbox here in Canvas. Because when you do that, of course, it'll send it to my email, but it'll also send me a notification to my phone. And because I don't always sit behind a computer all day long every day, and because this is what we call an asynchronous course, which means it's online, but there's no preferred or designated meeting times. So you have the ability to do the work whenever it is convenient for you, which is really one of the pluses of an online course. That means, of course, is that you might be doing it at some unusual hours. And so if you go through there, I can see that on my phone, if it's 8 o'clock at night and I get a little beep, I can look at it. And if it's something quickly that I can answer or fix, then I can go ahead and do that right away. And you won't have to wait, because I know, sometimes your time is valuable and you're like, I've got from 8 to 10 tonight and that's it. So, that's why I would prefer if you do that, because then I can help you a little easier. But of course, you can just email me through your Gmail, through here. You could actually call me. This is my office phone, and leave me a message if I'm not in my office. And of course, you could come by my office because I have in-person office hours. And the online office hours are just there because I need to put some in. But remember, the idea is that you can contact me anytime. Like I said, and if you use this inbox way, then that's the more efficient way. Okay, so we're going to look at geology, of course, in this class, and we're going to focus on disasters, hazards like volcanoes and earthquakes and flooding and landslides. We mentioned that in our other course, which is a 101, a physical, but we don't really focus on it. We kind of do more rocks and minerals and things like that in that course. Here we're going to do a little of that, but it's going to be a condensed version so that we can focus on our hazards, right? So they're similar courses. We're going to focus more on the hazards part, less on the minerals and rocks part, whereas in the 101 we do kind of the opposite, I guess. There is a little textbook that I will refer to. It's just online textbook, not required even, but occasionally I will either put it in an additional resources page that says, hey, if you want to read more about this or learn more about this, you can check this out. Or it might be something where I'll have you read a chapter for something that I want you to do in a module. So you just need the Google Earth that I mentioned earlier. Everything else, you should just be able to have a browser. Chrome seems to work the best. If you're on a Mac, Safari sometimes does evil things. And so if you're running into some issues with not being able to see images or things like that, a lot of times using Chrome instead seems to work better. So we can be aware of that if you're a Mac user. So how the class is going to be organized is there's a lecture component and a lab component. The lecture component is going to have 3 activities, 3 things for you to do. There's the main lecture content, which will be presented typically in a PowerPoint and a video. And so there's a PowerPoint that you can download and look through, and then there'll be a video of me kind of voicing over the PowerPoint like if we were in a live class. And then there'll be a quiz over that content. There'll be an article related to what we're talking about that week that I want you to read, and there'll be a quiz over that article. And then there'll be a homework, which can vary. It could be a video, it could be questions, it can be going to a website and doing an activity. Whatever it is, it's something that is related to, of course, the content that we're doing that week. And so you'll complete those 3 things, and that'll be your lecture portion. And then for the lab, you will actually do a lab activity related to what we're talking about that week, and then you'll have a lab quiz. So what's probably unusual or different about the lab exercise itself is that everything's contained within Canvas. So you, of course, if you've used Canvas before, have taken quizzes. The lecture quiz and the article and the lab quiz are all timed quizzes. So we're not locking down your browser. We're not making you have a webcam so we could watch you while you take stuff. So, one way to keep people from just Googling every answer on a quiz is to put in a time limit. And it's really just there to encourage you to look at the content before you take the quiz. So for those 3 activities, you'll need to make sure you look through and understand the content before you go ahead and take the quizzes. For the homeworks, there's never a time limit. It's just an activity, something I want you to do, or take your time answering questions or watching or whatever. And for the lab, same way. There's no time limit. Even though it's in a quiz format, there'll be no time limit. It'll just ask you to go through the activity. Now with the labs, because it's a lot of content sometimes, you can retake the labs as many times as you'd like to get the score that you want. So if you go through the content and you submit it, you'll get an immediate score back. And let's say you didn't do very well. Well, you can go back through and retake the lab and improve your score, and it'll record the highest score. So if you want to do it 3 times, great. 5 times, great. Just do it once and you got 80% and you love it, good. Really, the idea is that you understood what we were trying to teach you in that lab activity, because you'll have a lab quiz over that, which is timed, right? And which you can only take once. So that's kind of how it's going to work, right? You're going to go in, do the lecture activities, the main lecture quiz, the article quiz, and a homework. And then you'll do the lab activity and take the lab quiz, and that will be what you'll do for the week. So typically how it's going to work is on Mondays, the content becomes available. You have 7 days to complete all that content, which means Sunday at midnight, everything's due. And then we go on to the next module. And you can see how your grade is calculated based on percentages. So you have those 5 assignments every week for every module. And the whole idea of attendance, of course, online is challenging, but basically I'm looking that you're doing and participating and turning in assignments. If you're not, potentially you can be withdrawn from the course if I don't hear from you, or if you're not completing assignments. So if you're running into some trouble and you're having some issues, please don't hesitate to reach out and contact me. Okay, enough of that. So here we go. Modules. This is where you'll spend most of your time. When you go through here, you'll see that there's a syllabus acknowledgement. I can't speak. A syllabus acknowledgement. So, and you also see that all the modules here are grayed out. And some of that is that, number one, some of these aren't available. They'll come available every Monday at 6 a.m. And we'll do that weekly. For the very first one, in order to access it, you'll need to complete this, and then you can have access to the content. So you just go in here like this, of course, say, oh, I want to take the quiz. You'll say, of course, I will give you my firstborn, or you know the drill, right? You'll accept all that and hit submit. There is another actual quiz you could take if you click this next button here. This is just the optional one. If you want to explain to me some of the things that are happening, how busy you are, or whatever you want to explain to me, nothing is great, but if you have some things that might hinder your ability to do well in the course, or if you're in specific help or things like that, feel free to put those. If you just hit take the quiz here, you can type out something here that you want to share. If you do, great. If not, you're just like, good. We don't care about that. And so now that you've taken the quizzes here, you can go to the modules again. And you can see that now these first pages are available. So here we go. Ready? This is how it's going to work. So now you have access to the modules. This is week 1 modules. You have access. You have access early because it's the first week. In order to view these and have access, you need to click anything that says view, and then everything will be available to you. Of course, these are locked because it's not the January 22nd yet. When the 22nd rolls around at 6 a.m., the one that says view here will be available. Same thing. This has multiple views. They will be available. You'll need to click through each of those before you can access, in this case, the lab or the lab quiz. And up here, in order to access the lecture, article, and homework. So if I want to access my lecture assignments, I have to click here so that I can go through my main lecture. This is where all the content's going to be for your lecture. And so you'll always have a intro video, 3 to 5 minutes, that explains what you're doing this week in lecture. Useful to go through if there's some issue or things that students typically struggle with. I might mention it in here, some little tips and tricks to get you through the content. And then there'll be some lecture material. Now, typically there's a PowerPoint and a video, but for the first week, we're just kind of taking it easy on you. There's just this little article about environmental geology that I want you to read through, and that's what the lecture quiz will be over. There'll be an article, like I mentioned, and here it is. There's an article. You'll just click it here. That's going to take you to a web page. Other times it might be a PDF or something like that. Go through the content and take the quiz. And then finally, for the homework this week anyway, I'm actually going to have you read a chapter in that online textbook that's just about science in general. So it's a big introduction kind of week, the first module, right, to get everything up to speed. Now we can jump back to modules, and now we can see that these are available for us, okay? And so, of course, you can go to the quizzes directly from here, and of course, back here in the main lecture content, there's a link to get to the quizzes also. So you have 2 ways to get there, but of course, you want to come here to get the content and read it or watch it or do whatever you need to do to get that content. And the lab's the same way. If we jump back to modules, we can see that I can't access the lab until I go here. And this is going to give me some information on what to do. It's telling you need Google Earth. And then you can go in here and say, okay, I'm ready to take the lab. Now remember, untimed, even though it says quiz. And same thing, usually I give you a tutorial. So how do you do the lab? What are we going to do in the lab? And so for here, you can watch that. It'll help you with some of the lab content. But if you say, yeah, I'm ready to take it, you're going to go through and you're going to answer questions here. And then when you're done, you're going to submit at the very bottom. And there'll be, here, there's some files that you'll need to download. You're going to view those in our Google Earth Pro. You're going to answer questions about that as we go. This is to teach you how to use Google Earth. There's some modules and some ways to, how to use things here that you can click on. And same thing when you're done, remember at the very bottom, you can just hit submit and it'll submit that and give you a score. You can go back and retake it if you so choose to improve your score. Okay. And then once you've gone through that and you feel comfortable that you've, did everything and you understand what's going on, after you submit it, we can go back to our modules here and say, okay, we're going to bail on that. And then we can go ahead and take the quiz. And that's what you're going to do every week. So all of the course is set up that way so that it's consistent week to week. You should know what to expect. There shouldn't be surprises for you. The next week, we're going to look at Earth's interior, and we are going to have 3 assignments that are based on the content here. You're going to have a lab and a lab quiz. And then the next week, we're going to do plate tectonics. We're going to have 3 assignments. So it's just going to rinse and repeat. So once you get the feel for the format, what I hope is that the consistency is helpful. You'll kind of know what to expect. Certainly, some assignments may take a little longer than others. So my recommendation, of course, is early in the week when it's available at the very least to go in and just look at what you have to do. The homework, the labs, see, some homeworks might be something you can do in 10 minutes. Another homework might take you 40. So you should just be aware of that as you go through here, right? Some of the content, is large. There's a lot of information to go through. Some's a little smaller. So you just want to be aware. And of course, we always recommend that you start early. Don't wait till Sunday at 10 p.m. because you have 2 hours and you're going to cram it all in. It's usually not the best way to go through the content. And so this is how things will be set up. What else did I want to tell you? The announcements will be a place where if there's something that comes up that I'll throw something out there. If there's an issue or something I want to make you aware of, you can go ahead and check that. For grades, of course, you should always be checking your grades so you can be aware of how you're doing in the course. And of course, if there's any issues, and maybe I inputted a grade incorrectly or there was a question that was marked wrong that you think is right, feel free to reach out through the inbox here, contact me, let me know what's up, and we'll work on that. Okay, so I think that kind of covers what the basics of the course are, right? So you're going to acknowledge the syllabus, you're going to have an idea of how the course works, and you're going to work your way through the first module, and then you're going to do a similar thing, week to week, module to module. And gosh, I know it was kind of long, but hopefully that's everything. But of course, if I think of things, we can put it in the announcements. And of course, if you have questions, you're unsure of how things work, or even if you're unsure about some of the content or questions about the content, please don't hesitate to reach out to me so I can give you a hand with that. Otherwise, you can move along and start working on your assignments, and hopefully I'll hear from you if you have any struggles. And I think that's everything.